So we got news on the missing chapters from Doors of Stone. Now, for those who don't know, over a year and a half ago, Patrick Rothfuss ran a charity event. And one of these stretch goals was to release a chapter for Book 3. However, despite passing that donation requirement, Patrick Rothfuss kind of fell silent for the last year and a half and hasn't really mentioned it. And after this long silence, he's finally mentioned it over on his Twitch channel. I will leave a link in the description to the full clip, and it seems like the main reason we've not really been updated is because there isn't really much of an update. He's really struggling to pull together this cast of people to read through the chapter, and because there's such a big hype around it now, he wanted to do extra edits to the chapter, so he's been working through that, and it just seems to have ballooned and snowballed to a much bigger project than he originally planned it to be. The big difference between this missing chapter and Book 3 just as a whole is that there was money exchanged hands with this missing chapter. People donated to this really good cause in hopes that they would get this full chapter, and when money's involved, it does make things a little bit more messy. There is a lot to be said about Book 3 and the wait for it. However, to promise something, people pay money and then go silent for such a long time, it makes it a little messy. Patrick Rothfuss has spoken out about his troubles with mental health and the real struggle it's been, especially with the building pressure for Book 3, and I think in part this has also kind of been replicated with this missing chapter. Because he left it so long trying to arrange details, it's just kind of snowballed, and with this added pressure of people now really wanting it, he doesn't want to just release it how it is. He wanted to do this big production.
I feel bad about it. It's what I do. I'm like, oh, let's do a thing. I'll do this. Cool. But if I'm going to do it, why don't I do this? And why don't I have a bunch of people and they can record themselves reading it? And it's like, well, I should brush up the text. I should do art. I should get a video editor. Suddenly it's a huge thing.
I do think the lack of communication didn't really help. I think if he did make it very clear that he's trying to piece this together and mentioned it a couple times, it probably would have helped tide people over. At least they know it's not been forgotten, or he decided he's just not going to do it. Rothfuss is certainly a perfectionist and very meticulous in the way he writes. If you look at the release schedule, but also if you just read his books, the way he just carefully curates and crafts the prose and the worlds and all these small details and foreshadowing and mystery, it really shows that he is a perfectionist with his writing. And I do think that is in part why he has delayed this release of this chapter. He mentions not just wanting to release this block of text, but have a bigger production behind it.
It would have been so easy a month after to just do it and just like, I remember saying like, well, I don't just want to throw a wad of text onto my blog. That's boring. Let's do something fun. And so I tried to do something fun, and instead it turned into a big thing, and it got complicated and it got hard, and then various fires in my life, which meant I couldn't keep it going. But yeah, I do want to do it, and I'd like to do it sooner rather than later. But now, after waiting all this time, now if I just like, and I've half re-edited that chapter, so do I stop re-editing it, or do I push through on the editing, which turned out to be harder than I thought, so it could be better and sort of stand on its own? Or do I just go back to the old version, I barf it onto the blog? I could have done that a year and a half ago, and everybody would have been happy. So instead I've made everybody miserable, and then I'm giving them the lame version. So
now that it's been left so long, I do think it'd be worth just dropping the text how it is on a blog post, and if he wants to do this bigger production, he can still do that at a later point, because most readers just want to read the text. They just want to see this little piece of Book 3. I said this before, but I do think a year and a half is a long time to fall silent on this, especially when so many people have been asking about it for such a long time. And I'm sure Rothfuss does have a lot on his plate, but a year and a half is a long time to be editing one chapter. That's not to say he has been working on it for the year and a half, because he probably has other stuff on, and he has talked about his problems with mental health, and you just never know what someone's day-to-day life really looks like. So in no way do I agree with attacking or harassing Rothfuss in any way, shape or form. I think that's really unfair, but I do think people would be more understanding if they had been kept in the loop and he just put out a little update over the last year and a half. Something small, just like, this is still happening, I think would have went a long way for a lot of people. All in all, it's very frustrating to everyone involved, including Rothfuss, so please be respectful and don't harass him. In the end, Rothfuss just wants his chapter out there too. But I just wanted to do this super quick video and bring attention to this, because I do see it as a reassuring clip. It means that it's not being cancelled. We are going to get this missing chapter, and hopefully he will just drop the text version for this missing chapter and do the bigger production that's a wee bit harder to pull the pieces together at a later date. I don't normally do this type of video, but I know a lot of people have been waiting for an update on this topic, and as a Kingkiller fan myself, I am pleased to hear that it is still coming. So please let me know what you think of this in the comments below. Would you just like to see the text uploaded as it is? Because I do think that would satisfy most fans. But thank you very much for watching. Outro. I think we're good.